Criminals exploiting an unregulated trade.
Cask 88, Braeburn, a couple other companies.
Investors losing all they have.
I felt that I knew that is what was happening.
At the moment, we do not know whether they actually sold casks that they don't exist or they just don't have the correct paperwork for everyone who bought.
Definitely at some level, somebody knew they were selling a cask that they didn't have.
I'll be a little bit more neutral on that side.
Yeah, you can be neutral all you want. This is my podcast. You are a solo entrepreneur. You run the whole show yourself.
Started my company in 2016, called it Whisky Unfinished. Didn't know anyone in Hong Kong. I was literally knocking on doors and saying like, "Hi, I'm Hil. Do we need any whiskeys?"
You got 6 whiskeys here today. Some cool, old, rare stuff. 31-year-old Clynelish.
There's no whiskey that this is more female whiskey.
34-year-old Auchentoshan.
I cannot drink a whole bottle by myself. And
Challenge accepted. 36-year-old Benriach. Boy, you're one of the only people in the world who could outdrink me. 35-year-old Aultmore.
if I would be a male and I run my business, I would have been much further ahead.
32-year-old Glen Keith. You're telling me you're smarter than me.
I just know some numbers.
34-year-old Laphroaig. Did you ever feel being a female ever came up against anything?
Oh yeah, I called myself in front of that guy.
Did
to
you
call
really?
my boss?
You called your own boss?
I was so pissed off.
Hey guys, Rickesh here, the Whiskey Chief. Firstly, thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe below, it really helps us bring the best whiskeys to you and keep doing this show the best we can. Thanks. All right, Hil, welcome to the show, and we'll go ahead and talk about our first whiskey. We got 6 whiskeys here today, some cool, old, rare stuff. We'll talk about them one by one. We're going to start on the top left if you want to join me. So these are all cask samples, and this is a 31-year-old Clynelish. So coming up on 32 years old, 1993, 47% ABV. And for me, my favorite part about Clynelish, like I can always tell, is that pineapple, right? Like for me, it's like the first note right out of the box. This is just like fresh pineapple, which when it happens to be Friday at 5 o'clock here. So firstly, cheers. And so we're indulging with a few more whiskeys than we normally do since it's Friday, but
Yeah, thank you, Rickesh, for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Very honored to be here at your podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
And to start with a 31-year-old Clynelish.
You know, it's not a bad way to start things, right? So yeah, let's kick off. I'm very curious to learn more about, you are a solo entrepreneur, meaning that you run your whole business, which I'm amazed by, and we'll get into, you can talk a little bit more about your businesses as well, but you run the whole show yourself, which I find more than amazing. What is like the biggest benefit of like being a solo entrepreneur, and what's the biggest challenge? And don't say obviously you don't have people, we know that, but like from your experience doing this, what's the biggest? Yeah.
So I'm the owner and founder of Whiskies and More and my online shop, Timeless and Tasty. I started 9 years ago.
Amazing.
It started out as a hobby, passionate about drinking whiskey, and one of the brands that I'm carrying now asked me like, oh hey, my products are not in Hong Kong yet, so do you want to be my importer? And I was like, oh, I'm just going to festivals, tasting whiskeys, having fun, and now I have to work. But at that point in time in my life, I just moved from London to Hong Kong, changed career. I was in investment banking before, moved here, and I thought by myself, I'm still young. If I don't do the career change, I'm never going to do it. So I took up the challenge and started my own business. Didn't know anyone in Hong Kong, never in F&B before, just literally cold calling.
See, to me that sounds scary. Were you scared at that time? Like what emotions, what feelings were, if you can remember it to like 9 years ago, were you just kind of young and excited and said, fuck it, let's go for it? Or was it like, shit, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's give it a try? Like, where were you?
More the latter, but with a business model in mind, obviously. Just have a plan and then try to execute it. Give yourself like a year or two and see how it goes. So I was literally knocking on doors and saying like, hi, I'm Hil. Do we need any whiskeys? And they're like, what? Who are you?
And this was to what? More like bars, restaurants, retail? Like whose doors were you knocking on?
I started targeting really whiskey bars or hotels where they have a whiskey oriented bar. because that's just the first low-hanging fruit,
And so
right?
did you really start with like one, I guess, brand that you were representing, or one independent bottling brand? Is that right? That you were representing?
I
who asked you
started
to
with
be...
two because
Okay.
they're both very small. So in terms of quantities, it was
Yeah.
not very high. And I wanted, from my perspective, have a little bit a bigger range than
Yeah.
just like one or two products. It helps, obviously, if you go to different places and you have a couple of more products to offer.
Yeah, but and I think it's an interesting lesson, because I think for a lot of people, we're both entrepreneurs. Like, for a lot of people, I think starting is the hard part. I feel like a lot of people in the world have ideas maybe, or things they want to do, but they don't really know how to start. So I'm kind of inspired by the fact that you started with basically two products and just started with, I think, one client. And then obviously you've grown that, significantly over the 9 years, but
Yeah.
you are still a solo entrepreneur. So let's go back to that. What is the biggest benefit, and what's the biggest challenge of being a solo operating entrepreneur?
So from the start, my idea was not to get any investment from outside.
Right.
The main reason is because I wanted to make all the decisions. And I do accept that I grow less fast than if I would have more investments
Right.
from outside. For me, this business is not only making money, it's purely from out of passion.
Right. You love whiskey. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore, I also want to
And
have
maybe you like control, I'm guessing, I'm sensing. Is
Yes and no. I want to control in my own life
Right.
also. So,
Okay.
for example, I do go to the gym 6 times a week.
Yeah, wow.
And if
I see that.
if I don't have, if I have external investors with certain goals and certain KPIs, probably I cannot be as flexible as I am now. So that is
Clearly, I don't go to the gym 6 times a week, so I think that's truth. Yeah.
Yeah, so-
and I have investors and KPIs and all these things, so maybe that's why.
So yes and no. So it's a like. The pro is I'm very flexible. I can actually do. I'm going to Japan tomorrow for holiday.
Right.
I go to a gym. I choose which meetings to take and which meetings not to take.
Well, thank
But
you
that-
for taking this one.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. And so, what's the biggest challenge?
The
then?
challenge is
Yeah.
because you don't have such a big budget, you can not always compete with other companies who have a bigger budget
Right.
in terms of marketing, in terms of workforce, staff.
But even 9 years later, this hasn't changed. You don't feel any inclination. I mean, I'm not saying take investors and give up control, but you could hire a junior something. I'm sure you could afford that if you wanted to, right? So this is a very conscious decision.
It is a conscious decision.
Yeah.
So it has to do with experience as well. So
Yeah.
we went through in Hong Kong with a protest and COVID. So I was very happy that it actually has a very lean business.
Right.
Because
You didn't
that's,
have to cut anyone.
Nope. And I could actually
Didn't have to have a tough decision, discussion with
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, but also for staff, because you do, for me, the biggest assets are your staff.
Yep.
So if you have to let people go, you might not be able to hire them back. And sometimes it's just easier to be lean. I have actually hired quite a lot of part-timers,
Yeah.
but I feel
like
maybe
project-based kind of
yeah,
stuff.
project-based, and I just haven't found the one that I thought like, okay, I can trust or work with.
All right, you
because in
heard
the
it
end-
here. Hill's hiring in case you're good enough, but only apply if you're good enough. Let's try the second whiskey, and I want to delve into a little bit more about COVID. To me, COVID, the pandemic, feels like a lifetime ago.
Oh, yeah.
But it's 2025 now. So, and Hong Kong especially, we didn't really get out of the COVID till, was it late 2022? I
Yeah.
think it was. It was like, I remember, I think January 2023 was the first flight I took out of Hong Kong, knowing that there was no quarantine on the way back. I was like, we had that freedom,
True.
right? And I think we were the last, literally the last city in the world to get rid of the mask ban. Do you remember this? Like,
Yes.
we were still wearing masks when the whole world was flying around, giving each other whatever virus they wanted, and we were still wearing masks like outdoors and things like that. I think that went on till like Feb or March 2023. So now we're in July 2025. So it's like not even 2.5 years since COVID, but to me it feels like a whole lifetime ago. Like, how do you think of COVID now? You mentioned the impact on your business. Like, when you reflect back on that time, what do you take away from it, if anything?
Yeah, for me, it feels also a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it's only like 2 years.
It's not that long, 2 years, right?
And actually, recently someone asked me like, "Oh, I cannot come to your event because I have COVID," and I thought by myself, "Oh, you still test for COVID?" It wasn't that like,
how do you know?
Yeah, like you have tests anyway.
For me, it's like a timeline in my life because now if I try to like remember something, I was like, "Oh, I did that trip in like 2018. Oh, that was BC before COVID."
Okay.
Everything for me is BC or AC before COVID or after COVID because it was like a milestone. Also, my daughter was born in 2020, right? So we were like
literally
in the thick of things.
So for me, COVID has a bit two sides, especially for Hong Kong. So the start of COVID, I felt like, oh, we actually have a lot of freedom. If you compare to other countries in Hong Kong, we could go out anytime we want.
We never really had a lockdown.
Exactly.
Like most cities or big cities at least had a proper lockdown. We never had that.
So for me, for example, I'm in office by myself most of the time, so I could still do the BC type of schedule, like wake up in the morning, go to office, work there, go home.
No gym though.
No gym.
Did that impact you? Like you think mentally?
So I started really intensively go to gym like during COVID when I was actually for 5 months in Phuket.
All right. Okay.
That was in 2022 when everyone opened. And then Hong Kong closed down.
That's when the
CrossFit
gym,
and the gym came in.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I was going maybe 2 to 3 times a week.
I see.
Not as extreme as now.
So what was going on with your business during COVID? So you're selling whiskeys to bars, to retail shops. Yeah. Obviously, people are going out a little bit, but nowhere near as much. Demand, I assume, fell off. Like what was going on?
So on the trade side, it went just to zero, basically. But lucky I had an online shop already.
Okay.
So because it started out as a couple of friends asked me, oh, hey, Hil, where can I buy your whiskeys? And a lot of the retail shops in Hong Kong they didn't know that much about IBs yet. So the only way I thought like, oh, I just need to create an online shop. So I was actually literally Googling like how to build an online shop. Yeah. Literally 101.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Today you could ask AI to do it for you and you'd have a lot more answers. But back then,
in
not
2017, not really.
Right? Yeah.
So I had a very functional online shop.
Okay.
But it grew like massively during COVID. So I was very lucky that.
But how? What was the market? I'm curious because again,
it's just because of everyone had to stay home.
Right.
So they are not spending in restaurants and bars, but they are home. And then if you're the whole day home, they're actually starting to Google or surf like, oh, where can I buy
and was
new
it a
things?
lot of Google? Was it a lot of word of mouth? Do you know like where the traffic was coming from?
I think it's both. We started to do a bit more ads on Facebook, post more content, so to get more awareness, and that was just the right timing. Yeah. So from our trade channel, like fell off the cliff because everything closed. Yeah. But then the retail channel actually went through the roof. So
super positive part of COVID.
Yes. So that's a very, very good part of COVID. And for me, as I said, I could go every day to office. So mentally, for me personally, was actually quite okay. So I still could go out, have like a different environment to work, and then get home is still like my home part.
Yeah, quite lucky. A lot of people around the world definitely didn't have that, and a lot of other issues, as we know. How was the Clynelish? What's your thoughts? I
really like the Clynelish.
Yeah. Is it tropical, kind of as you expect? Is it? What else would you say about it? What
I really
like. You're better at this than me, so and we're both in the whiskey industry, but I trust your nose and palate more.
I would not complain to be as the first whiskey of the Friday.
Okay. Yeah, it delivers. It delivers. Yeah. And I think that's what Clynelish is really all about, right? Yeah. And I think Clynelish, for people who don't know much about it, I feel like it's a very unique taste profile and its like tropicalness.
It's always tropical fruits.
Yeah, and I think if you like that style, I think no one delivers that style better than Clynelish in like mostly bourbon cask. I don't think I've ever had a sherried Clynelish. Are there any out there? Maybe, I guess. I'm sure there are. I think
there are, but not that many. No. For me, still the bourbon cask will actually like give you all the fruit flavors.
And you're a bourbon cask girl, I know.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we are going to move on to some sherry cask. I think you're going to have to bear with me here. So the second whiskey we're having, 34-year-old Auchentoshan, 1991, 34 years old, 47.8% ABV. This I love personally. This is kind of one of my favorite whiskeys right now, this cask particularly. I think what's interesting about it, so Auchentoshan, as you know, triple distilled, Lowland distillery. But what I like about this cask is I feel like the wood was pretty active. And so you're not getting like a very light Auchentoshan. You're getting actually a fruit forward. I mean, it's still old, so it's not, crazy in your face, but it's nice, it's balanced, it's kind of like jammy. It's got like more texture and layers than I would have expected, I guess is what
It does. So you say it's sherry cask, this one?
I think it was a bourbon cask that was just very active.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
not a
there's
sherry.
any sherry. No.
It's not a sherry cask. Yeah, we are going to move on to more sherry style whiskeys.
Later.
Yeah, later. This is still a bourbon cask, but I think this is kind of the midway segment because it's just a bourbon cask that for whatever reason was just more active, right? And I think to me, like, that's kind of the beauty and the fun of single cask whiskeys, I guess, is you really don't know what you're going to get to some degree, in the sense that like some wood is more active, some wood is less active. The ABV sometimes drops off super quickly. Sometimes the ABV is like super high for an old whiskey. And like, that's the fun of single cask whiskeys. Are you more of a single cask person, like when you drink stuff, or what do you like to drink when you're, let's say Hil goes home this evening? What would you open up, if you were at home?
For me, I would not like distinguish this way, IBs or single cask or non-single cask. It really depends on my mood.
Yeah, okay.
I have specific whiskeys that are OBs that I really like, especially now in Hong Kong. It's summer, it's super hot outside.
Yeah.
I love something fruity, light that you can make in a highball or just drink as a neat.
Are you a cocktail person? Do you put stuff in the highballs?
Only in a highball sometimes, because sometimes when you come inside,
you want something fresh,
and then you cannot drink a whiskey neat like this.
Yeah.
It would be a waste for me. So I would just have like
you need that cold weather a little bit to like kind of
just cool down a little bit before you start whiskey. Single cask, I do love to explore a lot, but it really depends on my mood. If I'm like a very busy day, intense, I just don't want to think about it. I just like have something nice.
Yeah, okay.
Just something intense, maybe sherry cask or pedo whiskey, something like that.
Yeah, nice. All right, so we've learned a little bit about your starting off kind of in whiskey 9 years ago and what that was all about. We learned a little bit about the tough and the good parts of the pandemic. Where are we today? What's going on in the whiskey market from your point of view? I guess globally, like there's obviously been a lot of negativity around cask, and we've had a couple of companies that have been fraudulent. I think that's really hurt things. I think more so in the UK. There's like big news. But like, what's your view on kind of what's going on around the whiskey market, around the world? And then we'll talk about Hong Kong later.
Yeah, I think this is a very good point for whiskey investment. So it started, I think, also during COVID, that a lot more people were buying bottles. So the prices in general for spirits, I will not say only whiskey, went up because it's just pure demand and supply, right? But for whiskey, I think it was just a lot of people talking about certain distilleries, certain bottles. So it like went through the roof, some auction prices. Then there are always opportunists in any industry where they think like, okay, we can actually make money out of this asset.
Right.
It's treat it as a commodity. So they started trading casks.
Yeah.
But because it's not like a financial asset, there's no regulations, and people were just like, okay, I'm buying this cask, but without actually knowing what they are buying and
which I think
the risks.
Yeah, and I think
right?
and I think I agree. Unfortunately, one, there's no regulation, but two, I feel like there's not enough education, to be honest. Like, people didn't know that a delivery order is the only thing that, from an official point of view, gives you that ownership.
Yeah.
And so people started accepting like random certificates that I could print on any printer anywhere and say, oh, Hil, here you go. Here's your 30-year-old Macallan cask on this piece of paper I just printed.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you actually have a Macallan cask, right?
And this is a link between the regulation and education. So if you're not forced to educate it in the right way, in other words, like if you sell a stock and you don't give all the risks, then you can be penalized by
Right.
the regulator.
Right.
But for a cask, if I give you like this printed, nicely color printed certificate, and no one tells you about that this is actually fake, or is this, well, I would not say it's fake. It's just a piece of paper that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Then the person who buys it, they don't know. And there's no resources for them to find either. So it's a bit tricky, I feel, because I know, like yourself, you guys doing it the correct way, but there are so many people who are trying to just make a quick money out of it, and they just actually destroy the whole market.
I agree. It's really unfortunate. These kind of scammers, fraudulent companies, Cask 88, Brayburn, and there was a couple other companies kind of involved in this. And I feel that the hardest part, to be honest, is I feel being in the whiskey industry, I felt that I knew that is what was happening. Like I could tell, I could talk by talking to other customers. I knew that there was this level of fraudulence, but I don't feel like there was really an opportunity to speak up. I mean, I tried that a few times. There's like all kinds of, slander regulations and blah, blah. Like if you go up and go, hey, I think that company is fake.
It's a defamation
then
straight away,
you have
right?
defamation suits. So it was a really tricky place where obviously we tried as much as possible to take the positive and just be focused on, consumer advocacy and consumer education, because that's how you battle this kind of thing. But I think a lot of, I don't know, did you think this was going to happen? Did you think that, hey, this was bound to happen at some point?
Yeah.
These companies were going to go under.
True. So I do think it was going to happen, actually, because it was just not well, even if they're not actually committing fraud, they were just not set up correctly. So at the moment, we do not know whether they actually sold casks that they don't exist, or they just don't have the correct paperwork for everyone who bought something.
I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb and say it was the first.
I'll be a little bit more neutral on that side.
Yeah, you can be neutral all you want. This is my podcast. I'm going to go ahead and say I think there was, I think these people knew what they were doing. At what level, I don't know. But definitely at some level, somebody knew they were selling a cask that they didn't have. Or they thought they could go buy it later or whatever, right, and make it up. But this kind of stuff happened in the wine market. I remember like 10 years ago, there was a big company, Australian Wine Index or something, went under. I know this happened in the art market. Like this is not
any luxury products, I guess.
Yeah, this is not the first time like this has happened. And I feel it's some of the same people, to be honest, that have kind of moved around from different asset classes, like you say, wherever they can make a quick buck and wherever they can convince somebody to buy something without really them doing all the due diligence. And I think they really have like these crazy pressure sales tactics. Yeah. That's the part that I guess I didn't fully understand or appreciate, that like how good these guys are at getting people to buy something that they don't really even want or need, but they feel this pressure that they have to buy it. And then we had clients, for example, who would come to us and ask us about their casks that they had bought, let's say, at another company. And we would say, you don't have the right paperwork. And then they'd go back, try to get the right paperwork or try to find their cask and kind of eventually come to a solution. And we'd say, why don't you tell everyone that this is not a good company to work for? And what I realized, which I didn't appreciate, is especially in Asian culture, people don't want to outwardly say I was made a fool of. Like they don't want to go out there and tell their friends or the community or publicly on like social media and go, hey, these guys are a fraud and I fell for it. Which actually is a disservice, unfortunately, to others who don't get to learn from that experience. But I understand, obviously, like you don't want to be the person going, hey, they robbed me, they
I
took
think
advantage.
it's more a cultural thing. It's just a cultural behavior that they are not going to tell you what like mistake they made. But from my part, every time I do an event or tasting, like the past I think 2.5 years since COVID, when we could do events again, every tasting someone will ask me, so what do you think about whiskey investment? Right. And I just do my duty by saying like, look, you can make your own decision, but one, it's not unregulated, depreciating asset. You cannot move the cask. You probably need to bottle. There will be extra costs coming in. Right. Not sure you have the paperwork. Do your homework. Yeah. Exactly. I give just a couple of pointers for people to think. And most of the events are in the corporate world, so they have a finance background. So I try to put like in a financial lingo, like if it was some other commodity. Yeah. Illiquid market, no exit strategy, etc., etc.
Would you do it? Yeah.
Would you then please make up your mind yourself. Yeah. So I try not to like be too negative about it, but I would just give them my honest opinion. So they have the full information instead of just, oh, it'll be fine. It's a triple percentage RI or whatever, and all these sales tactics. So
that part's unfortunate. Yeah, I agree. Just do your homework, do your due diligence, figure it out, make sure you find someone trusted. All these like you should do this for anything, right? Like whatever.
Even if you buy a watch or for a female buy a handbag or something, you not just buy a handbag in Mongkok. It says like a big brand on it. You still do your research, right?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that all the handbags in Mongkok are 100% real. That's what I have found.
When you have to ding dong and go up, and then it's like, I don't know, cash only.
If it's cash only and it's being sold on the side of the street, I feel that those are the people I trust. That's where I get all my good stuff from. Hey guys, Rickesh here, the Whiskey Chief. If you made it this far into the episode, firstly, thank you so much. As you know, it takes a lot to put on these kinds of episodes. So if you can, like and subscribe below. It really helps us bring the best whiskeys to you and keep doing this show the best we can. Thanks. So what's the state of the whiskey market now in terms of the bars, the restaurants, the hotels? You're way more connected to that part than I am. Is the Hong Kong person spending again? Are we seeing a rise, a decline, a stagnant position?
I think globally the economy is quite challenging, especially with all the politics going on, the geopolitical things with the tariffs.
Why?
And
What's
things.
going on?
No, you don't know. Yeah.
I love every morning when I wake up and I get like 6 New York Times news alerts like in the email. I don't know why I still kind of am subscribed to New York Times. I guess because I lived in New York for like 10 years, so it's like from way back then. I don't necessarily trust the New York Times any more than I trust Fox or anywhere else, but I'm amazed by the number of news alerts that I'm getting like every single day. Do you have this feeling, or like what when you wake up and you hear whatever the latest
trade
news
deal,
is?
no trade deal, tariffs, no tariffs.
And what's your reaction?
10%, 15%, 25%.
Yeah, 25%, zero.
It's almost like playing Uno, right? Like +5, +2, skip you.
Yeah. And what's your reaction to that as an entrepreneur? As a seasoned business professional living in Hong Kong, we're still one of the top financial hubs in the world.
Yeah.
Like, what's your reaction to like this much? I don't know if you want to say chaos or uncertainty or whatever. Like, how do you react to that?
For me, it's such a high volatility market. I will be a little bit more careful in, like for me as a business, purchasing inventory.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if there's a high volatility, people tend to be a bit more cautious in spending. They will still spend on smaller things, but not like the bigger luxury products.
I agree. I'm the same way. I think I've kind of cut back on even my expensive wine and whiskey habit.
So I will focus a little bit more on like a lower end of the pricing for the whiskey. So pushing a couple of new releases from distilleries rather than focus on really targeting like, oh, this is like a 6,000 Hong Kong dollar bottle.
Right.
Like I will go up to maybe.
This is mostly that kind of stuff. So
I'm really lucky to be here to try this. By the way, I love the Auchentoshan.
Yeah.
The second one.
What spoke about it to you?
It has a lot of different layers, as you said. Like there are not that many Auchentoshan this old out there. 91. Is it already sold to Suntory at that time?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. We're not advanced enough a podcast to have like a research assistant to look shit up. We don't have that. So we're just gonna have to.
we can look around.
We don't have that. One day we'll be there and be like, hey, look that up, Jeff. But
episode 30, then we're getting there.
We're gonna get a research assistant. We have no idea. But yeah, I think the Auchentoshan, I agree. It's a unique Auchentoshan. I thought you'd appreciate it actually because of you're very good, I think, at detecting, from having drank whiskey together before, layers of and context to whiskey, and I think this has
and the texture is a little bit thicker. I thought the Clynelish would be actually a little bit more waxier.
Okay.
But then compared to the Auchentoshan, I was actually thinking, oh, this Auchentoshan is actually better value for.
Yeah.
Quality,
I agree. All right, and then when you're ready, we're going on to whiskey number 3. So this is a 1989 36-year-old Benriach, 47% alcohol. This is my style of whiskey. This is like me in a glass. Not that anybody wants to imagine that, but this is like exactly what got me into whiskey. Okay. Like this kind of sherry, like, you know, we're in Speyside. You're getting for me at least, some of that caramel, that nuttiness, like well-rounded. Like, this is what got me into whiskey, I would say, probably about 12, 13 years ago. So I was like a big wine person, kind of always loved wine with food. And then, I think it was like 2013, I started drinking other stuff after dinner, right? It was like trying a tequila or a port or whatever. And then I tried a whiskey, and it was like one of these kind of whiskeys that got me into it. What got you into whiskey? Do you remember, like, maybe the first time you had that moment where it was like, holy shit, this is different, this is interesting?
I think it's a bit less romantic story.
I like it already.
I'm from Holland. We're very pragmatic. So for me, I love wine too, but sometimes at home I cannot drink a whole bottle by myself. So
challenge accepted. No. I think you can. I have drank with you before.
I know.
You're one of the only people in the world who could outdrink me. I think, like, easily you can outdrink me.
It's the gym.
Yeah, okay. I gotta get my metabolism up, is what you're saying, so I could drink more. Is that what getting healthy is all
Burn
about?
more, drink more.
Yeah, okay. It's good note to self. Go to gym more so you could drink more.
Yeah.
No, but what was the moment for you, or the experience?
So
for you?
I was actually looking for something else that I can open a bottle in Hong Kong in this humidity, and you can leave it for a long time. So I tried a couple of things, and one time I was actually at one of the gatherings with friends, and some people brought some whiskey. I can't remember which bottles. We just started with OBs probably.
Wait, well, what's this humidity thing all about? What are you saying?
So what I meant is, like, if you open a bottle of wine and you just drink one glass out of it and you leave it out, then you kind of need to drink it within a couple of days, right?
Yes.
This is pre-Corvin.
Yes.
time.
Yeah, understood.
So for me, very pragmatic, I was looking for something else that I can actually open like 5 bottles, try all little bit different things from it.
I see.
And then just leave it there for a year and it's still good. And that's how I got into whiskey.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you were into whiskey way before you started a business in whiskey. Is that
Yes.
fair to say? How, like, from a young age? Like,
Well, not young age. It's about
14, 15? When did you start? When did this whiskey thing start for you?
All right, it's a different story. I worked in a restaurant with my parents. Like, it's
okay.
a lot of...
What kind of restaurant?
It's a Chinese restaurant in Holland,
Okay.
so it's a similar thing.
Where
to
they
a lot
served
of-
whiskey?
Not whiskey, but a lot of different spirits.
Okay.
And because my parents' Dutch was not very good, I was always standing in front to do all the orders. It's a
You
takeaway.
were front of house.
Yeah. So at some point in time, I a little bit older, like maybe 14, 15, I told my dad, like, so what are these old dudes always drinking beer and Geneva? What the hell is Geneva, right?
What is Geneva? I don't even know what Geneva is.
Geneva,
I'm an old
like-
guy. And what the hell is Geneva?
It's a typical drink in Holland, like similar to gin.
Oh, okay.
But for the takeaway, they just like, they come on Sunday. They either have a pint or a Geneva. So I asked my dad one time, like, so I think I should try all the spirits. So otherwise I cannot explain to the customer.
It's an educational
What it is.
reason to be.
And my mom was like, nah, you're too young.
Train the staff.
And then my
right?
dad, one night when my mom was out there, like, okay, we're going to try this and this and this.
So
and
it
this.
was 14 or 15. I was right. I guess. I was right.
But it was just an educational
Yeah, of course.
thing.
All for education.
Yeah.
I mean, look, for me, it's funny. I don't think I realized this till many years later, like reflecting on it in terms of whiskey. But growing up, my dad always drank Cutty Sark, which is like a blended Scotch whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And he would always have a Cutty Sark with like 7-Up or something, right? And when
Yeah.
I was like relatively young, like even 11 or 12, he would, like, if his friends were over, I would go and make the drinks, right? I was
Yeah.
allowed to do that. And so the smell of the whiskey, pouring it out, like, I think that kind of somehow, some things are subconscious from like a...
You're already familiar with it, right?
Yeah, so I have like a great affinity to kind of thinking of, like, anytime I see a Cutty Sark bottle, it makes me think of my dad, right? Because like I remember the number of nights where he would have people over, and my parents were really great because I feel like, and I guess this was a different generation, we didn't have iPads to go play on or anything anyway, so I'd have to sit there and like listen to this adult conversation as a, let's say, teenager, right? And then interact a little bit. Mostly I was there to make the drinks, I think, now that I look back. But what was the impact you think now, looking back, that working in your parents' restaurant had on you? What did you take away from that makes you who you are today?
I think
We're 4 whiskeys in, so I'm going deep now on the question.
No, I think because I started working when I was 12, just doing the dishes and all these things, I could see up close how it is to be a business owner. My parents owned a restaurant. So it entails a lot more hard work than just people see from the outside. Oh, it's just, oh, you're the founder, you're the owner, that's cool. But in the end, the responsibility is at your...
Yep.
It's yours.
And you do everything. I mean, you do tasting events,
Yeah.
you're picking up whiskey, you're delivering whiskey, like whatever is needed, you're doing it
You
now.
have to do it, because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. What I took away from my parents' business is actually to know upfront it's going to be hard work. Don't expect that you're just going to sit back, have people to do things for you, and they come to you. So you have to hustle, basically.
Super valuable lesson to learn at a young age. Do you think you were aware of it at a young age, or you're saying this now, like looking back, hey, that kind of is a value that they instilled in me through that experience? You get what I'm asking?
Yeah,
Like,
so at that age, I was like, oh, why can I not just watch TV like all my friends, right?
Right.
But why do I need to stand in a restaurant? But on the hindsight now, hey, actually, you're already starting having experience.
Yeah.
If you now study, you just, I want to go to an internship. I need to do this to get experience. For us, it was more natural.
Right.
So on the hindsight, it's actually not a bad thing. But it's just...
This next generation of kids are never going to work. I mean, AI is going to be doing everything. There's going to be robots for everything.
Yeah,
So.
and I feel you just get more street smart in that way. So
Yeah.
you learn different things that you would learn at school.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot. I'm curious to take your take on it. That actually the advice now to a lot of like people graduating, especially in the UK. So I just came back from like a month and like spending around London and Scotland, is to actually take up a trade job, to like go back to being like plumbers and handyman, and because those are the jobs that are not going to be able to be replaced by AI, which is so interesting because I think in our generation, let's say, right, like we grew up where like that was the jobs people had. Then there came this whole, now there's technology jobs and finance jobs and all kinds of different jobs. And now because we've been so good at that as a society, we've trained now AI agents to be able to do those jobs. So actually go back to becoming, tradesperson like plumber and all of this, right? Like it wasn't that long ago, maybe 10 years ago, we told every kid become a coder, right? It was like, if you want to succeed, go into computer science, become a coder. And then now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, most of those coding jobs, not all, but most of it is going to be completed by AI, right?
Yeah.
What's your take on like this whole evolution of, what jobs are really important to young people today? Like, I think it's difficult being a young person today.
I think so too. So first of all, social media for young people. Like we grew up without phones.
Right. I loved it.
Yeah, I love it. Like
mostly because no one took videos of the shit I did as a kid. So that's the main reason I'm glad there were no phones.
So what happens there stays there, right?
Yeah, it's gone. It's like Vegas. It's gone.
Yes. So there's, because of social media and because of these phones, I feel like all the kids has so much more pressure on them.
Yeah.
Because everything they do can be recorded, can be posted on internet. So they're much more cautious, so less free. And then, as you said, for a job perspective, a lot of things, like when we grew up, when we moved to our dorm in the uni, the only thing we can afford is IKEA, and there was no person who's going to assemble everything for you. You have to do it yourself. So you have to.
I hated that, by the way.
Yeah,
I
but
really
you don't have
that.
any money, so you
No.
kind of have to do it yourself, right?
I did it in New York, and I really, I think I actually hated the whole country of Sweden for a little while.
Except for the meatballs, maybe.
Oh, the meatballs were always great. Have to love the meatballs. But I had a period in my life where I was so angry at IKEA because like I hated building that shit, and I hated the fact that the instructions were somewhat in English but not really. And then I really, the part that I really hated is we put all the pieces out and then you get one little Allen wrench, as if that is supposed to somehow fucking save this whole thing that you have to build. So anyway, that's a short rant on. Yeah, I don't love IKEA. I also don't like the whole.
That was
experience.
the only thing we could afford as a student.
It is. I had IKEA furniture when I first moved to New York, and like built tables and all that kind of stuff. That was it was good quality furniture. It's a great business model.
But because you did that, some things around the house, right? In case your light bulb need to be changed, you'd be able to do that, right?
That's about as far as it gets for me. Yeah.
No, like,
I wouldn't, and definitely my wife wouldn't ever call me handy around the house. That's not the kind of person I am particularly. But change a light bulb, I think I could achieve.
yeah, but small things at least you'd know, or you can have an idea what is wrong in the house.
Are you more of the like, because in your business you do everything? Is that the way you are around the house and
I
all
try
parts
to
of
fix it
your
myself
life?
first before I call a seafood to come up.
Wow, I'm just impressed by
it's just
everything
because
you
it's
do.
just faster. I just like, okay,
Yeah.
if I can figure this out like within 50 minutes, it's fixed instead of me calling someone, waiting for an hour, or maybe cannot come immediately.
This
and you
is
have to
the
wait,
Dutch efficiency.
Yeah, you
Is
just
that
want to
what
get
this
it
is
fixed
about?
and move on.
You want to get it done. All right.
And yeah, and I guess for like the current generation, they just never have to fix anything. Everything is fixed for them.
Well, not
So-
only do they not have to fix anything, they don't
they
even
don't
have to
even
do
know.
research. They don't have to think. I mean, there's
Yeah.
parts of thinking that involve. I mean, that's true and not true. Obviously, I'm talking about my own statement, but like you do have to think of the prompt in order to get the research that you want. So there is that level of thinking, but it's a different level of thinking to like actually come
It's not
up with
analyzing.
right. I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the Benriach. What did you think of?
It's very nice,
of
nutty.
Mr.
I've
Ben,
had
Mr. Riek. Are they coming together nicely? It is very nutty, and I think that's what I love about
Yeah,
it.
that's the first thing I actually smell and taste. Is really, really nutty.
Yeah, that's what got me into whiskey. This style, not this particular whiskey, but like this style of whiskey is what I really love. The next one actually relatively similar. So 35-year-old Aultmore, 1990, 46%. A little bit different in terms of, I think, less nuttiness, but similar taste profile, I think, in terms of
A bit
where we are.
greener.
Yeah.
Straight away.
So I'm curious to hear your take, having been now in the industry for 9 years, particularly the whiskey industry. I think most people think of the whiskey industry as quite a male-dominated industry. I think especially on the production side and the distilling side, it's quite male-dominated. I think now we're starting to see obviously that changing in different aspects, female distillers, all this kind of stuff. Did you ever feel being a female in this, like, is that ever an issue that you even thought about or like ever came up against anything?
Oh yeah,
You really?
a lot. Yeah. So I started 9 years ago, 2016, in Hong Kong. I go into a bar. I ask them, "Oh, do you like the whiskeys? Oh, should you not drink like a champagne or some like
People
sweet
actually
cocktail?"
said that to you?
And that's a bartender on the other side. And I'm just like, "No, I'll just have a whiskey."
You would just go in and order a whiskey, and somebody would try to talk you into
Like,
what
you should
they
not
think
drink
you should
whiskey.
have
Yeah. But
a
that was,
female
like,
appropriate
yeah.
drink or whatever that means.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And
crazy, right?
does that still happen today? I hope
Oh
not.
no, not at all. It changed a lot.
Why did it change? What changed?
I think it's well, Me Too has had some, like, obviously has a spotlight on equality.
Yeah.
Within the whiskey industry, there is one foundation in the UK's Our Whiskey Foundation. They've been promoting whiskeys for everyone. I've been doing quite a lot for myself as well to show everyone can drink whiskey. There's no whiskey that this is more female whiskey or this is a male
that's the
whiskey.
dumbest thing I've
Whiskey is
ever heard.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Everyone can drink it, right?
Yeah, but so obviously traditionally whiskey is thought of, and I still think today, I forget traditionally, even today, let's say for the average person, people think whiskey is mostly drank by generally old white men, right?
Yeah.
That's still the imagery that we get as a society, right? I'm talking like from TV, media, movies, that kind of like James Bond, like the Mad Men show, which I love. It's a great show, but like it's guys in their 50s, in the 1950s, drinking whiskey,
Yeah.
treating women who only had secretarial positions, terribly. Like that's all of the like stereotypes and connotations that I feel I grew up with or kind of thought about, right?
Yeah.
And I think, and so what is, I guess, is there enough happening to really appeal to women who feel that maybe, hey, whiskey isn't for me because of what they've seen, but not actually tried? Like, is there
feel-
enough to target
Well, I feel
50%
actually
of the population, right? Like, we
Yeah.
shouldn't ignore
No, for sure
female
not.
whiskey drinkers.
For me, I feel like Hong Kong, because Hong Kong started drinking whiskey much later than in Europe or US. I feel in Hong Kong, it's actually less divided. If I go to tasting or if I host tastings, generally speaking, there is 30% female.
Okay.
Or in bars, I can see more female actually ordering whiskey. So I'm very happy to see these kind of things. And for me, I keep on just educating people or telling people whiskey is for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like I was in Shenzhen or Guangzhou last year, and we went to a whiskey bar, and it was mostly women in their, I would say, late 20s maybe or early 30s, sitting around. One bottle in the middle. They were drinking peaty, like heavy Laphroaig whiskey. I loved seeing that. I think that was fantastic. And I think nobody told these, women in southern China that, hey, this is an old white man's drink. You're not allowed to drink whiskey.
Well, that was 9 years ago, so things have changed a lot.
That's good to hear that at least things have kind of moved on a little bit.
To be honest, in the whiskey industry, if I would be a male and I run my business, I would have been much further ahead.
You think so?
I truly think so.
From which side? From the getting access to suppliers, or you think like
more from the business side? I think in the culture in Hong Kong, there's still a lot of people thinking, okay, female cannot be the boss.
Right.
I've been challenged a couple of times. Oh, can I talk to your boss? Because your boss can make a decision on the pricing. It's like, well, I can give you the pricing, right?
Right, I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
I am the captain now.
You're too pretty, you're too young, you cannot be the boss.
They actually would say things like, you're too pretty and too young to be able to make the decision.
So one time I was just actually in front of the guy. I have two phones, one personal phone, one work phone. I called myself in front of him.
Did you really?
Call my boss.
You called your own boss?
I was so pissed off. But because I explained the guy 3 times, like, I can give you whatever price you want because I make the decision.
Right. And he just wouldn't believe it.
He wouldn't believe it. So I called myself on the other phone and just like, hi, this is the price. And he was so pissed off, and I just stood up and left, actually. Wow. I didn't even bother to do the deal.
Yeah, that guy's obviously not worth your time or effort.
Yeah, at some point in time, there's self-respect and there's self-value.
I agree with that.
If you don't respect me as a business owner, one deal more, one deal less.
So I'm a male owner, obviously, a co-owner of a whiskey business. Do you think there's something more I could do, or like that people could do in general to change this, or is it a generational thing and this is a
I'm not
time
sure.
thing?
I think partly in Hong Kong is a generational thing. If you look at now the CEOs of like property companies, they're all grew up with multiple wives or different. Like
they
did? You didn't know?
Which ones? Do you want to name them? I think we should name all the property companies with guys with multiple wives.
They have just a different mindset.
Do you know the multiple wives? Who are these wives? I'd like some names.
You'll get them when they die, and there's like a lot of inheritance fight, right?
Yeah,
They just all in the news then.
That's when it comes out, right?
Yeah. But it was very normal for them, and very normal for female to be like the second, third wife or whatever, just to be home and like have kids. That's it.
Right.
But while I see now the new generation, I'm more like, okay, so I want to be also a business owner, or I want to be like get more senior up. I feel like it's So the new generation are more open to this. But in the end, for me, it feels like we can only educate the new generation by telling like the new boys and girls coming up, it's equal for everyone. There's no point in changing the old guard.
Right.
Focus on the future.
Well, and I think you're a great case study example. I hope people watch this, see you, all the great things you do, and there's maybe younger people who want to start a business or don't know how to start a business or interested in whiskey, and they say, hey, here's someone who's done it, right? Like there's a path for people to follow. There's a way.
I hope I'm an inspiration for people.
Well,
and
here's to that.
Yeah, cheers.
You absolutely.
Oh, you're already next to the.
I'm on to the
whiskey.
next
one.
Wait. Yeah, don't take your time. But we're on Glen Keith. This is our 5th whiskey. 32-year-old, 1993. So this one steps up a bit in ABV. We're at 50, almost 3%. Again, for me, though, we're going back into, like, the heart of Speyside. Like, if you like Macallan and anything that starts with a Glen, all of the Glens.
Macallan doesn't start with Glen.
Well, Macallan plus all the Glens. Big Mac plus all the Glens.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Then I think if you're in that range, then Glen Keith is, for me, in that wheelhouse. Like, it's that sherried, style, classic, sherry Speyside whiskey, and I love the finish on this.
Do you have a pipette? Sorry. Yeah,
yes, we'll have to get a pipette. Yes, we'll get you some water and pipette, so we can add. It is pretty high.
I think it might need a little bit of water to open it up.
It definitely opens up a bit more. So let's chat a bit more about, before we've talked a lot about whiskey and your time in whiskey. Tell me about the investment banking you did. That was London. Is that what you did? That was like from Chinese restaurant to investment banking to starting your own whiskey. Am I getting the timeline right?
Sort of. I studied also in between.
Don't lie.
No, I was in uni in Rotterdam. I studied econometrics. So that's economics and mathematics together.
You're telling me you're smarter than me.
I just know some numbers. My first job, I moved to London. I was in fixed income sales at Goldman Sachs, and then SocGen, Société Générale.
So looking back at those years, what do you take out of that? This was your 20s, I assume. Like, what do you take out of that experience that you, like, I guess, put into who you are today? Like, yeah, what was that like? Because I think there's a lot of people who are in those kinds of, let's say, not entry level necessarily, but like first jobs, you're working. I assume I was very lucky to never work in a big company so far. Knock on wood, I've never worked at a big company. But what was that experience like for you at that time in your life?
So as an analyst, when you start, it's a lot of groundwork. The good thing is, because at that time, investment banking was very, very different than now. The investment banking job was only in London. So we all had to move from, like what we say, continental Europe to London. So we started out in a class, people from Holland, from Italy, from anywhere, all started in the same class. So you actually sort of start in second uni group of people that you have a friend.
Especially in a city like London, everyone's kind of young together. Yeah. Like you have that culture, right?
Yes, and that's very, very nice community to be in because everyone is in the same boat. You just moved away. It's your first time in a foreign country. You have to work hard. It's a hardworking business at that time. But you can also party a lot with friends together. There's no family that you need to go to see in the weekend. Yeah. These kind of things. So it's a very nice way to start as a first job.
And are you still, would you say, quite connected to financial markets? And like, is that because of your time there? Is that like, because it's a world you understand, right? Like, is that something you've kept up in a way or connected to?
Yeah, I do. Like, obviously read the news and everything. Yeah. But it's
are
more.
Are you doing trading? Are you doing like managing your own investments? Do you do any of that?
I do a little bit of that, and mainly look at FX now because obviously in our business we purchase in sterling or any country where you are, and we're receiving in
US pegged.
Yes. But for me, the work experience is more the journey. It shapes the way you're thinking. So at Goldman's, when I started, it was very important to have a good reputation. It was always hammered into all of us. Reputation takes years to build. It just takes one split second to ruin.
That's true.
And it's true for everything. So even if my business, I'm a little bit careful, maybe sometimes a bit conservative, because for me, reputation is very important. And that was because of my work experience at Goldman's.
Well, I agree with that. I think you have to deliver a good product and you want to, if you, especially in your business where you're bottling something, you don't want to bottle something if you don't stand behind it, right? Exactly. And I think same in our business, like I will never provide a cask sample that I think is bad quality. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the cask sample that I love necessarily, because people have different tastes, different profiles. I think that part is fine, but I think quality is not as subjective, I guess, as taste preference. Taste preference is subjective. Quality is less subjective.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the examples I give in events are like, there are Michelin star restaurants that maybe only do spicy food, but if you don't like spicy food, doesn't mean that restaurant is not good. It's just, it's not your flavor or your preference. Yeah. So you need to distinguish that part. Right. So quality versus what you prefer.
I agree with that. So speaking of preference, we're going to try our sixth whiskey here. We're moving into a Laphroaig 1990, 34-year-old Laphroaig, which is, I think, quite rare. We're at 46% ABV. We're back into bourbon cask, obviously, for Laphroaig. And so I'm not a big peaty whiskey guy. It's just not my style. But this already on the nose, I love. Like I like that campfire. And
it's much softer than obviously if people think about Laphroaig 10.
Yes.
That's like very medicinal.
So the
peat.
age has definitely brought down the phenols, which is basically bringing down the peaty, the smokiness. It's still there, but it's more, I would say, in the background. Would you agree?
It's more supportive than like the main character.
Yeah, and it's kind of dealing this like really nice complexity for me. Like the
fruitiness is coming on the back after.
See, that's why I like this kind of peaty style, because for me, otherwise the peaty is like a slap to the face. Like all I get is the peat. I get how people love that, but then I don't get a lot of other characteristic. Here, the peat has died down to a point where it's still there, it's still prominent, but then as you're saying, there's a lot of other characteristics to it that kind of like teeter it out, right? So how often do you actually drink whiskey? Everyone thinks that because we work in the whiskey industry, literally this is what we sit around doing all day. And I wish it was, and it's been a pleasure to get to do this with you, but as always. But like, how often are you actually drinking whiskey, would you say?
On average, maybe 2-3 times a week or something.
Mostly events or just drinking?
If I have events, there are weeks and months that I've been drinking every day almost.
Yeah.
It's just because if you host a tasting, you're not drinking a lot, but you still have to taste it.
Right.
Because for me, tasting in different environments give me different flavors, even if it's the same whiskey.
You mean like different like rooms, temperatures?
Yes.
What do you mean?
So for example, if you have the aircon really cold, so it's much cooler, my perception of a certain whiskey can be different from if it's like no air conditioning, it's very hot and humid.
I mean, if it's hot and humid, you just feel terrible and you don't want to be drinking whiskey. I mean,
But
we've got
still,
the ACs
in terms
going
of
here because the lights are on us and we're drinking whiskey and all of that. So you need that.
Of course you need it. But sometimes if you're just, like if you do a cigar and whiskey tasting, you're standing outside.
Are you do you smoke cigars?
Once in a while, yeah.
Really? Okay, yeah.
I like pairing things. So
you do?
Yeah, I like pairing whiskey with food, with cigars, chocolate, anything.
And do you think there is actually a pairing, or it's more you're just experiment? Like
it's experience together. It's just, I mean, like this, I'm happy to drink 6 really, really good whiskey as well. But sometimes if you're just chilling out with friends, you're not going to drink in this way, like, okay, what do you get from whiskey one?
No,
so
we're very lucky, I think, to be able to kind of do this on a Friday evening.
It's good to have a pairing with a cigar or just like something to nibble.
And then you're in the gym every day after that. Like this is the part I'm not understanding. I'm with you with the let's have a cigar, let's have a whiskey, let's have 2 whiskeys. But like, what does it take to have that discipline, or is it easy for you? Hey, next morning I'm up, I'm doing the gym or CrossFit or whatever you do. Like, is that always a boom? I'm there.
I think for me, the gym is like my Zen place. This is where I actually switch off. So I actually don't have my phone on then.
No music, no nothing.
Oh, well, I'll do a class. So I will actually follow what the instructor asked me to do. But then it's like just tune out of business, tune out of whiskey, tune out of anything. It's my 1 hour of Zen time.
It's important for your mental, I think, state to have something like that, usually physically active. Like I used to play tennis for a long time, and I don't anymore. But like I loved that, what you're saying, because I would focus on trying to hit the ball to my trainer, right? I wasn't playing tennis with like friends. I never played tennis with my friends, almost never. I only played tennis against someone who was like
proper training.
Who was like, because they're hitting it, and every time I would level up just a little bit, he would remind me how much better he is, just to kind of put me back. And all I would focus on was like, I got to get this ball over that net in this way, right? And if you can focus on that, you can't think about anything else.
Exactly.
You have to think about your footwork, where you are.
Yeah. Same for me in the gym. Like today, I had to do a lot of snatches. I had a 15 kg dumbbell, so I cannot not focus on that. Otherwise, it will fall on you and it will get injured.
But the going out, the drinking, whatever, never affects your motivation in the morning. Like you never wake up and be like, I don't want to do this class today.
No, I go to the gym in the lunchtime. So I have like my work in the morning and then I'll go in lunchtime.
So that's a good tip. Maybe it's about time of day. And this is something you said that started kind of towards the end of COVID, like this more focus, would you say?
Yeah. So for me, it's more a mental thing. So everyone has a different way to unwind. I will not say like, if you like gym, of course, please go to the gym. But if you like to read or any way you can unwind and switch off, just do it 1 hour for yourself. It's really good for your mental health. And for me, it's just, I like in particular the gym and also in the middle of the day. I'm very productive during the morning. So I'm awake by 6:37.
Yeah.
I'm in office by 8:30 latest. And then I work 4 hours, go to the gym for 1.5 hours, come back. I'm fresh again and I can do another 4 hours. And then I work about like productiveness, 12 hours in 8 hours.
I love it.
And I can go out for drinking and seeing friends in the evening. So.
Well, and thank you for spending that almost last hour or so with us.
Yeah.
I think that was really fun. I really appreciate it. Tradition on the show, and cheers, by the way. Whatever.
Cheers.
What was your favorite? If you had to name a favorite, if I had to put you to.
I really enjoyed the Auchentoshan and the Glen Keith, actually.
Ah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Well, tradition on the show, we actually need to get a glass and a pen. Hey guys, Rickesh here, the Whiskey Chief. Firstly, thanks so much for watching this episode. It really means a lot to us. If you can, like and subscribe below. It just really helps us to keep bringing you the best whiskeys in the world. Solange, and I'll talk to you soon.